Welcome everyone to another edition of What I Crush. I am here with the great Laura Hyatt of Team Callahan. Laura is the Director of Operations for Team Callahan, which is based out of Savannah, Georgia. And last year, they served 281 families with 73 million in closed volume. And this year, they're on track to serve anywhere between 325 to 350 families and roughly 85 to 90 million in closed volume. So obviously they've somewhat got their act together, right, Laura?
Somewhat, yeah. Every day is a new adventure.
Well, that's just real estate.
Yeah.
So Laura, thank you for taking the time and investing it in us all. I know we'll be better for it. And so let's just jump right in here. So the first thing I'm curious about, Laura, is out there in the world of real estate, particularly in Keller Williams, there's a lot of different definitions of what a director of operations is. So can you give us what your definition of a director of operations is?
Yeah. I mean, I see myself as a director of operations who runs the company, right? So I think a lot of times we get focused on the operations part of that title and we don't focus as much on the directing. And really the directing comes first. So what's the tempo? What's the speed? What are we doing? Because it all comes back down to the director of operations to kind of beat that drum.
Got it. So I think an interesting way to put this is if you ever have read or you looked at the book Rocket Fuel, that you have the visionary, you have the integrator, right? Director of operations is the integrator, right? They're the ones that pull the vision out of the dirt and out of the clouds and put it into the dirt, right?
Yeah, it's like, what do you want to do? Great. My job is to make that happen.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. So what's the difference, Laura, for those, maybe that are individual agents or just starting out to build out their organization? What's the difference between a director of operations and an executive assistant?
Yeah, so for me, the EA role is more of a receiving role, more of a passive role that's there designed to help the rainmaker, the lead agent, whatever you want to call it, and kind of receive those tasks, those incoming responsibilities. Whereas the director of operations, it's a whole pillar of your organization, right? The director of operations is there to not only make sure that the operations side of your business is rocking and rolling, but also keeping tabs on the listing side, the buy side, because they're the one who is going to see that kind of cross-departmental view of everything and have that 30,000 feet view of where our company is at. And then they can go to whoever is the CEO of the company and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what's going on. So receiving one person versus solid pillar and really taking the initiative and going forward.
So when you say receiving, Laura, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, executive assistant. Hey, can you call this person? Hey, can you order this? Hey, can you print out those flyers? It's all receiving information and receiving tasks. Whereas the director of operations role is more like they make their own schedule of like, this is what we need to do in order for us as a company to continue to move forward and hit our goals.
Okay, so a director of operations, it sounds like, versus like, well, an executive assistant is somebody you have to tell what to do. So they're kind of, when you say receiving, it's the receiving of tasks.
Receiving of tasks, an executive assistant is usually paired with one person, right? Whereas the director of operations could be literally leading an entire department.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And our good friend Craig Zuber last week, who you're actually coached as well by Nicole Zuber, who is his bride, made a comment last week that if you can tell the difference between the director of operations and the CEO, you've got the wrong person, right?
I would agree with that statement. Yeah.
I think you would resemble that statement. So, Laura, tell us what's the difference between you and, maybe the way you think about the business and others that you've seen, or what makes you different?
Yeah, well, I think I approach this from kind of an early stage of this is not just a job, this is a career. And, when I tell my story, sometimes I talk about the very defining day that it went from Don, who's my business partner, went from Don's listings to our listings. And so taking ownership of here's exactly what we are going to do, right? It's our team, it's our listings. And so really just thinking of myself as a partner long before I even officially got that title, right? So I think that's one thing that makes me different. The other thing is I'm a ridiculous learner, like a super learner. You know this. The quantity of books and podcasts and things that I'm listening to in a way to really just make me better, whether that's a person, a leader, better at my job, something that I don't understand that I want to understand, give us a better competitive advantage. Like I'm always seeking out new information and new growth.
Got it. Okay. So let's start with that difference. Like when, it sounds like you're answering one of my favorite questions when I'm talking to a rainmaker, which is who is showing up as a partner before you've ever dangled the carrot of ownership? Is that accurate?
Yeah, definitely accurate. I mean, I called it our company, our team for a long time. I think you're looking for someone who is truly there to make the sum greater than the parts.
Yeah. I call that there's these three attitudes that I think everyone should have. And one of them is hire patriots, not mercenaries. And because patriots work for a cause, mercenaries work for a check. And when you say I was looking for a career, not a job, then that's kind of in line with that, right?
Yeah, for me, it's always been about what's the bigger picture, what's the bigger goal, right? I didn't set out to get into real estate. I kind of fell into it, so to speak. And yet it's now become this thing, that's passion, this career, that it's like, it's never about, what does Gary say? It's not about the money, it's about what you can do with the money, right? And so like money's never been a thing for me. It's all about what can we accomplish together? How many families can we serve? What's the impact we get to have on our community, on our team, right? That's what this is about.
Love that. Okay. And Laura, so when you talk about being a super learner, obviously that's who you are, because one of my favorite hiring questions to encourage people is to say, when you're hiring somebody, ask them, what are the last 3 books or podcasts you've read or listened to, and what did you learn from them? And I actually created that question thanks to you. But is that something that's like in your DNA? Have you always been that way? Or like, where does that come from?
I think it's a combination of nature and nurture, right? It's like I've always been an avid learner, from the time I was like 2 or 3, asking my mom how to spell certain words. Like I'm naturally inquisitive and curious and want to learn. And that was also kind of reinforced in me. My parents are a combination of, you'll love this, if can't never could, if can't never tried, meaning go try, go figure it out, see how far you can get by yourself, and then we'll see if you need me. Versus, and the other side, it was improvise, overcome, and adapt. So whatever obstacle you meet, you can always figure out a way over it, around it, or through it. And with that kind of being bookends to how I was raised, it set me up for this adulthood where God, I'm always seeking out new things. New is exciting. New is fun. I'm sitting here right in front of me. There's 5 books that I'm reading right now. Some people might find excessive, but I like to read on a variety of different things at one time, or listen to different podcasts, because I feel like it makes me a better human, but it also helps me to just understand myself, understand those people around me, because at the end of the day, we're in the people business first.
Right. So can't never could, if can't never tried. So I'm from Kansas. You have to slow things down for me, as you already know. What does that even mean?
Well, that means that like whenever you come up with an obstacle or something and you're like, oh, I can't do that. Okay, did you try first? Right? Because if you haven't tried, if you haven't put out that initiative, that effort at first, what are you even talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And whether that is a small task, whether that's a physical thing, like I'm going to run a marathon, I can't do that. Have you tried? I'm going to go hike 2 miles. Have you tried? So you have to put in the effort and try. And if you try and you fail, okay, at least you tried. Right? It's like, to use, you love your sports analogies, right? I at least took the swing at the plate, right? Like I swung at the ball and I missed, but at least I swung.
So what I'm hearing you say is that number one, it's being resourceful. That if you don't know the answer to something, because of your learning based attitude, that you will seek to figure it out versus sitting around complaining about how you don't know the answer. So if I'm a rainmaker and I'm looking to hire an executive assistant or a director of operations, I should say, how important is it that they are resourceful like that?
Yeah, like a 10, right? Like you absolutely need someone in director of operations who is resourceful, right? Because you're going to have different kind of obstacles. You're going to have things show up. You're going to have closings that are going to hell in a handbasket. You're going to have markets shifting. You know, you're going to have the printer breaks. What the heck? Okay, what do we do? We've got a meeting in an hour. How are we going to solve this? I was at I think it was family reunion a couple of years ago, and Seth Campbell was talking. And one of the questions that he loves to ask during the interview process is, he says, so imagine we're working together, it's day one, and you walk outside and car doesn't start. What then? What do you do? And they give whatever the example is. Well, I'll get my spouse to take me to work. Awesome. They're not home. Well, I'll call them. Cool, phone's dead. Just to see how far down the road and what kind of resourcefulness they have, because that tells you. Because if they're like, oh, well, if my car doesn't start, I'm not coming to work. Bye, exit, right? How can they think on their feet? What's the critical thinking? What's the resourcefulness that they have? Because that tells you a lot about a human.
Totally. And, you know, I think that goes right into one of my favorite questions too of, you know, if you're hiring somebody, or maybe you're looking at that moment where you need to redefine your leadership with them, asking, tell me about a time that you wanted something really bad and you had no idea how you were going to get it, but you knew in your heart that you were going to make it happen, and you did. So I know that
Great
that is
question.
a very long question, and obviously we'll put that in the notes, but that question, if they don't have a definitive answer to it, if they can't think of a time, then they probably haven't ever had to access that resourcefulness, right?
Right. If you've never had a challenge of whatever magnitude, be that crazy life challenge or just sports in school, like whatever dynamic and degree of that, then you don't really understand the true test of that resourcefulness.
Yep, that's right. And when you're hiring and leading, it's not tell and show, it's show and tell. Your video
Absolutely.
first, then your audio, right?
And
yeah, everyone on here probably knows my word of the year is FITFO, and it's an acronym for figure it the F out. And so whoever you hire in the director of operations has to have a tremendous amount of FITFO, right, Laura?
Absolutely.
So I'm probably going to get kicked out of MAPS for that question or statement. Yeah. All right. So Laura, tell us about your 20%. What are the 3 to 5 things that you do to make stuff happen?
Well, you're welcome, Jordan Freed. It's an acronym. You ready for this? It's the 3 Ps. So first, profitability. So handling the financials, making sure we're getting our ROI from lead gen, anything that's focused around profitability, even down to, do we need to bring on more leverage, have people on the bus, not have people on the bus, all profitability. Second one is production, right? So from everything from working on business plans to understanding our metrics, where are we today? Are we on pace? Are we not on pace? Accountability with our team around those numbers and standards. And then the final one is people, right? How are we doing as a team, as a unit, individually? Is there something going on? What's our team culture like? What's our client experience like? Because they're people too. What do we need to do to fix that or make it better or continue to evolve it? And then what are we doing in our community surrounding us, be it events, be it presence, giving back, involvement with other organizations, that kind of thing. So profitability, production, people.
And you know, there's the 3 E's on people, right, Laura?
Oh my God. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Engage, enhance, exit.
That's right. So the 3 E's on people, you're always looking at engaging the talent you need, enhancing the relationships that you have, and ending the ones that aren't serving you or them in a win-win way. So it's the 3 P's to the 3 E's. See that? Pretty awesome, huh? Yeah. Yeah. So that's really what your primary focus: profitability, production, and people.
People. Yep.
Got it. So how do you structure like your week and your days, or walk us through that process?
Yes, I'm a big fan of chunking things together. You know, when I've shifted from working in the business to on the business over the years, I went from this long list of tasks with that like great reward of striking things off, you know, and there were little things, to suddenly being in a place where my tasks were these big picture things that I may go a day or two and not be able to check it off. And that was a big, you know, kind of reconciliation I had to make with myself. So today I chunk things down. So Mondays are all about starting our team off right, getting them going with Motivation Monday. So a video, gratitude cards, what happened over the weekend for as far as production goes, catching up, really catching up, and then understanding from a numbers perspective, where are we as a company, as a team, right? Tuesdays, I put my owner hat on, and it is all about financials and coaching. I've got 2 coaching calls with my MAPS coaches on Tuesdays, and then also the lovely land of QuickBooks. It's not one of my favorites, but it is a necessity. And then Wednesdays are all about our team. So leading our team meeting and doing our individual one-on-one accountability meetings with each of our agents. And then Thursdays are fun days. Thursdays are like project creative days, because I get to oversee our brand and all of our marketing. And so Thursdays are the day that I get to really kind of deep dive into that and get creative, let those little juices flow. And then of course, Friday is all about catching up, prepping for any events that we may have coming up, depending on the season. Hopefully we're getting back to some in-person events, and then just prepping for the next week. And so that rhythm has allowed me to just stay in whatever I'm doing, because otherwise I will be a squirrel. We can't all be squirrels. I have to be the professional squirrel wrangler for our team.
Right, right. So let me just recap that. You said Monday is catch-up day. So you come in, kind of get caught up. Where are we at? What production happened over the weekend? Essentially, it sounds like you're playing firefighter a little bit on Mondays. Is that
Monday? Yeah, it's the front end of starting, like catapulting our team into the week on a good note, right? So what are we understanding in the market? What's our mindset like? Let's start from gratitude, then catching up, like what's happened, right? Get them going, and then catching whatever happened over the weekend.
Okay, got it. And then Tuesdays is owner hat. So you're doing your financials, and you have coaching on Tuesdays, right?
Yep, and prepping for our Wednesday meetings.
Okay. And then Wednesday is leadership.
Yep.
And Thursday.
Thursday's fun, creative.
Yeah, see, and I think if you were to go back to your P's, you know, one thing as a coach that I've noticed is there are 4 areas that I have to keep my finger on the pulse of at any given time. And you named 3 of them: profitability, production, and people. The 4th one is projects. So that's
projects. Okay. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah. So that actually is part of your 20%. It makes up, you know, 20% of your week. Right. And then Friday again is prepping for the next week and kind of catching up. So that's how you team it. Right.
Yeah. And that rhythm seems to work pretty well. Because usually by Thursday, I need a little creative break, you know, but it's important for our team for us to start out right on Mondays. And by having those kind of columns, I can go deep into whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. So then you have a rhythm of a week and a month. You kind of know what to expect and what you're knocking down, right?
Yeah. Like I wake up and like, what day is it? Oh, okay. Right. I understand this, right? The details will change, but the rhythm stays the same.
Right. Right. Okay. Got it. And so, you know, one thing that I love about Team Callahan is the mission. So can you tell us about that and where it originated?
Yeah. So our mission is sell houses, have fun, give back. It is very short. It is very simple. And that is intentional. You know, I think we've all been victim to we're going to have this fancy mission statement that looks wonderful on paper, and yet no one can remember, and half people don't even know what it means. Right. So I read once that a mission statement should be short enough for people to remember, right? And clear enough to understand what you're doing, and bonus points if you can fit it on the back of a t-shirt, right? Like short, simple, direct. So honestly, our mission, I was sitting on the couch one day thinking about those things, saying, okay, well, who are we and what are we about? Well, we sell houses, right? We give back. We like to have fun. So just put them in the order, and there you go. We present it to the team, and they're like, yeah, that's what we do. And so now with that clarity around who we are as an organization, we're able to then understand what things fit and what things don't fit for us. And so it's just given us such clarity. Our whole team loves it. You know, we only bring people on board who agree with that mission statement, right? Because then that makes us have long-term players, which is awesome. And then we make sure that we pitch that out to the community so they understand who we are and what we're about as well.
And it does fit on the back of the t-shirt, because if it weren't for my clients, I actually wouldn't have any clothes. Like
you would have no clothes.
I
Poor
wouldn't have any
thing.
cups either. I'd have no cups, no t-shirts, no hats. And
Life would
so
be sad.
you know, I've coached you and Dawn for a long time, and I would say that you guys are the architects of one of the best cultures I've ever seen in a real estate organization. So how do you guys protect and build such a great culture? If I'm sitting in the audience and I want to know the top 1 to 3 tenets of amazing culture in a real estate organization from an operations perspective, right? How do I do that? Where do I focus?
So I think one, you have to get clear on what your culture is, right? Because without that, you don't even have a foundation for it. And then once you get clear on the culture, understand like if you are that person or it's somebody else on your team that is that person, right? So Dawn and I together are super protective of the culture we have. And yet we know that on the have fun part, that's not me, right? Like there are way more people on our team that are a whole lot more fun than I am. So what if we empowered them, right? So we have an ambassador of fun. It's her job. She gets money every month. I don't care what you do something fun, right? So whether that's scratch off lotto tickets or showing up with cake and singing ridiculous songs when it's your birthday, like whatever, it's her job to have fun. And then I've also got another team member who is our culture protector. I'm like, hey, you pick up on people's feelings. Let me know if we're in alignment or we're out of alignment, right? Because she's going to sense things before I will, because I'm going 90 miles an hour, right? So I think it's all about empowering the people around you to help protect the culture that you have, right? So if Don and I built it, we empower the rest of our team to help protect it because they're part of the tribe too.
Can you give us some examples, and even down to My Little Ponies, that you use to have fun? Or I know that you don't engineer these, but you definitely oversee them. Can you give some people some examples of some of the big and little things that Team Callahan does to have fun?
Yeah, and My Little Ponies have actually been around for a while now, which is really fun. So we like to have fun. You know, we joke sometimes that I should have been an elementary school teacher for my ridiculous antics. So the My Little Ponies, as Jordan is referring to, is every day we update a whiteboard. It used to be a literal whiteboard. Today it's a virtual whiteboard. But every buyer's agent gets to pick out their pony. It has to be a My Little Pony. It has to be approved by the rest of the team. And it has to have a name that starts with S. Why? I don't know. It just happened. So there's this whole thing whenever we're on a new team member of like, did you get your pony yet? Where's your pony? And so it's like, you know, at the fair, you have the little gun that you shoot the water and the ponies run down the line. It's kind of that principle. So every time they put a house under contract, they jump a hurdle and we get to name the hurdle, whatever client that was. And so they're in a race, and the whiteboard, they have the 3 buyers agents up together and you can see who's winning the race every month, right? So we make goal keeping fun. The listing agents have monkeys that originally started as a barrel of monkeys, you know, and today they're virtual monkeys. So it's little things. It's our VA has a little maraca shaker that she shakes whenever we do something good. We celebrate when it's in our group text with stupid GIFs and whatnot. So it's all about finding the big things and the little things. So the big things are when it's your birthday, we're celebrating you, even if it's ridiculous. So there may or may not be princess tiaras and, you know, balloons, or there could be crazy gift cards, or we're going to take you on a big team trip once a year, which used to be production based and now is just, well, darn it, we just like hanging out with you. We want to have that team bonding. So it's everything from big stuff to small stuff to backyard cookouts, really whatever we can do to make sure that we're having fun on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis with our team.
Yeah. And you guys are very consistent at it, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, hopefully if you like where you work, you'll want to stay, right?
Yeah. And, you know, when people ask me like how to create an amazing culture, the thing that is a little unteachable that you and Don do is you guys truly care about your people.
Mhm.
And, you know, I describe you all as capitalists with a heart, that when I coach you and Don, it's truly about how do we enhance the lives of our people. You actually care about them. They're not just a number, which seems so,
Right.
you know, you shouldn't have to say it, but I'm shocked at the number of people who just don't get that, you
Well,
know?
I mean, you got to like them to lead them, right? If you
Yeah.
don't love your people and don't like hanging out with them, well, one, why'd you bring them on board, right? If you don't like spending time with them, because that's what you're going to be doing is spending time with them. And if you don't love them and care about them and who they are as an individual, what's happening with their families, then how would you ever expect them to follow you anywhere?
Mhm.
Right? It's that care and candor, love and results combo. Like if something's going on at home, we want to know because it's going to impact what's happening at work. And what's happening at work is going to impact home. You know, we're going to celebrate things like buying a house. We're going to celebrate birthdays. We're going to check in and be like, how was that vacation? And it's from a genuine place of we truly do care about our people.
Mhm. Yeah. I totally get that. And it's not, it's shown in the lack of, I mean, you guys have virtually no agent turnover.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to curse anything by saying this, but so I'm not even
Knock on some
finish the
wood.
sentence. I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet. So Laura, you know, I hang out with you every week and I've got a page full of notes right here. And anything that I have not asked you, there are things that you want to add before we wrap this up today?
You know, I think just one of the biggest things for me as a human is, and I teach this to our team a lot too, is if you're not going to take a stand for your excellence, then why would anyone else? Right. And so I think as individuals, whether you're ops, whether you're anyone, you have to take a stand for your excellence and define whatever that means for you and then go after it and seek it. Right. Because sometimes opportunities show up when we didn't expect them, and others we knock on the freaking door. So
Yeah.
go after it.
I love that. And I think, you know, whenever somebody, and you know this because you get the calls, ask me, who do I know that's a great director of operations? I say the best I've ever seen is Laura Hyatt. And you get, I so appreciate you taking those phone calls, Laura. And
Yeah.
for those of you out there that would like to thank Laura for her investment in time, again, they serve the Savannah market. And if Savannah, Georgia, and if you have anybody looking to move down there, obviously reach out to Laura, reach out to Don. They'll take great care of your people. And so, Laura, thank you for your time here today. And thank you for who you are and your learning-based spirit and your willingness to give. This was so great. And for those of you out in the audience, next week, we've got a special treat for you. We're going to be talking to Stacy Sauls, who is out of Laura's home state of North Carolina. And Stacy is going to be talking to us about how to save your deals because we're noticing some transactions fall apart and she's kind of a master at holding that stuff together. So join us next week at 3:00 for What I Crush and Saving the Deal with Stacy Sauls. And Laura, thank you again. This was great.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, guys.